Welcome back. It's good to see all of you again. So as always, as a reminder, I just like to make sure that we are all aware that we are recording this session again. And we will share this recording to all who are attending or who might miss the sessions. Because I got some message from some students that they are saying that they are taking exam these 2 days, so they are not able to join, but they requested for the recording. So just to make all of us aware. So how is everybody today? Hi, Mabuba, Bang Bangladesh.
Hi, we're fine.
Hi, Hassan Tajim, Bangladesh. Sabroni, also from SMA in Baya.
Hello.
Hi, Roy, from Bangladesh.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Afna from Indonesia.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, how is everybody today? Excited? So, we can always use the chat. So, if you have any questions, you can always use the chat. We will always try to remind respond questions also in the chat. And yesterday we have a very exciting session. And as I mentioned in my emails that we are using the same or repeating the same sessions as yesterday because of the time zone. So hopefully this will be also as interesting as well as excited as yesterday. Hi, Mahbuba from Bangladesh. So we have.
Hello, everyone.
We have already about 27 participants, and of course, like from the Baya High Schools, I see that there are a number of students. Hi. So maybe we can start. So again, welcome to our Tsunami United. This is the second session. We have the first session last week, and we have the second session as we mentioned last week. This is the second out of the 4 that we will have. So without further ado, I will invite my dear colleague, Emiliano, to take us through the journey of this second session in Tsunami United. Emiliano, the time is yours.
And thank you so much, Adito, and good morning, everyone. It's so great to see you again. We prepared some super interesting materials with the team to share with you and to have a conversation with you. We want to hear more your opinions and your ideas and your reactions. So we'll be talking a bit about last session because it was really wonderful. You brought so many interesting ideas and opinions, and we want to thank you for that. And we also would like to talk about the learnings from the 2004 tsunami and all the progress and all the work that has been done since then, all the improvements, so much knowledge and so much work and policy and programs that we want to share with you. We think that it's important to know that. And any of those topics, any of them, just you remember that if you find it super interesting and you want to learn more, Of course, you can ask questions, but they can be opportunities for to do your projects, for you to focus on that when you do your work. But we'll be talking about the future of the ocean as well, and about communications. Communications here is super important in Tsunami United, because one of the main goals that we have together as a team is to start conversations about tsunamis this year with our people, with our family, with our colleagues and other students at school, with our neighbors. This year marks an important commemoration year, and we want to use communications to raise awareness and to share what we learn here with others. So we'll be talking about communications. And we brought this picture that we really like, which is a metaphor of what we are doing in a way. We're looking at the future, but still seeing the past and the learnings and all things that happened in the past. So we're looking at the future of the ocean, the future of ourselves as professional and as people in our community, and then try to reflect on learnings. And of course, this is about the ocean, about tsunamis. So a few things about last session. One question that I have for you is, did you watch the documentary, The Girl and the Tsunami? It's a very short animation, 5 minutes. I see that some of you are nodding, which is great. So we'll share a very short poll on the screen now. Maybe you can tell us if you watched it or no. We are really interested in your feedback. If you didn't watch it, you have time to watch it. Next time we'll send the link and you will find the link. It's very short and it's very beautiful. And we thought it's inspiring because it's the story of a student taking the lead, a student protecting her community. So we thought we wanted to share that with you. So many of you, 79% to be exact, 80 now, 81, 82 that watched it, which is great. Did you like it? Any feedback? Feel free to use the chat window if anything that was particularly interesting to you. We are happy that many of you watched it. 85, that's a lot. That's a lot. And I think that learning from Martina, which is the voice from the storyteller in that animation, is a great example of a powerful story with lots of learnings. Let me just open the chat window so that I can read it. Great, there you go. I have it here. So if you have any thoughts, feel free to use the chat window. And if any of you want me to repeat anything that you don't understand, just let me know. Tell me in the chat and we can go through that again. So it's great that you watched it. We loved it. Martina is such an inspiration for all of us. And it was a project with UNESCO and with the United Nations. So what did the documentary inspire you? What did you find interesting? I see Mabuba saying that the animation story was too helpful and beneficial. Thank you for that. So let's play a bit with the whiteboard. So any words, any feelings that you think that was triggered by animation, by her story, by that girl, we will see the whiteboard now, and we can play around with some of the words. Here we go. Is it working, Romy? Or maybe I can move to the next.
This is working.
Say that again.
Yes, it's working.
Okay, but I don't see it. If not, I can continue sharing the screen. Okay. Because we wanted to play around with it. So Well, in the meantime, I want to tell you that we received your films that you shared. This one was great. Thank you for sending. So if you want to see other films, this one takes place in Aceh, in Indonesia, and it was really insightful. And we also received this one called The Aftermath. It's a HBO miniseries. So this is great. Thank you for sharing. Keep sending materials if you think that it's relevant to what we are discussing. And we also received many interesting comments and stories from many of you. These are screenshots of many messages that you shared with us from Myanmar, of how in the 2004 tsunami, there was some damage to the local industry, from the Maldives, that talking about the impact. Also another one from the Maldives, that telling us that the economy and the tourism was affected in the 2004. So it's interesting to learn how your different countries were affected. We had one from Indonesia, and one of you telling us that a story about a mother and losing a grandfather, which is really sad. And we thank you so much for sharing that story. So we also received stories from Bangladesh, but of course, the student was not there because it was not born yet, but it was an interesting story from her parents. So thank you for sharing all these stories. We read everything and we learned a lot, and we are including this in the presentation so that you can learn from other students, right? So how the different countries were affected in different ways. Thank you for answering all these questions. And last time we discussed what causes a tsunami, and we learned from science how they start. And one of the main and most frequent reasons that a tsunami is created is tectonic movement. It's earthquakes at the bottom of the ocean. So we brought this animation, just a few seconds, that shows in the bottom of the ocean how the tectonic, these plaques, these platforms of huge platforms of rock, over time they accumulate energy, and at some point it's released. And in this case, in this tsunami, this fault, it's called the fault, it was so large. It's really a big one. So that releases the energy and moves the water, literally moves the water. So all that water that is moved, then it creates ripples in the surface. And that's how it starts. So this is what we learn from science. And then we know that there are other possible causes of a tsunami, and we would like to discuss this with you. And these are some options, and we want you to answer. For example, a volcanic eruption. Can that create a tsunami or not? So you can answer yes or no. Or a landslide. Can it create a tsunami? Yes or no. And you can answer yes or no for each of those 5 questions so that we can play and learn together about it. Can you hear me? Yes, here you go. Yes, I can see those answers. So great. So I see that for volcanic eruption, I get 71%. And then for landslide, I get no for 56. So it's tie there. So you're still, I think this is intuition and imagining, and we're learning from science because the answers are all scientific. And the water landslide, is that possible? Well, this is similar to what I've just shown on the screen, right? So I get a lot of answers. And then this one, meteorite, that's unexpected. and I get a 93%, and 93% no for the last one, the thunderstorm on the ocean. So this is wonderful. Thank you so much. And this is fun to see all your answers coming fast. So what is first one? Is it correct? Yes, volcanic eruptions can create a tsunami. And science is learning a lot on how to connect early warning systems from volcanoes to and tsunamis. Traditionally, the systems of tsunamis were more connected to earthquakes, but now volcanic eruptions are studied a lot and they can cause tsunamis. So second one, landslide. It's more infrequent because there has to be a very big landslide, but they can cause when the earth falls down on the water, it moves the water, and they can cause most likely local tsunamis, but in some cases it can create regional tsunamis. Maybe not that huge as in the whole Indian Oceans, but in places like the Mediterranean, there's a lot of discussions on how landslides can also discuss that, create that. So underwater landslide, you got it right, 93%. Yes, that's the one that I shown on the animation. And then we have the meteorite, which is surprising. And this is, imagine, very rare, that very, very rare, but technically it's possible. There can be a meteorite that generates a tsunami. 70 million years ago, there was a big one in the region of Mexico. And that, where the science shows that that was the end of dinosaurs. And there was a huge tsunami, but that was, imagine, 70 million years ago. So it's a lot. And the last one, correct. Most of them got it correct. A thunderstorm in the ocean is not enough to generate a tsunami. So great. Intuition, great. And we're still learning. So here it's great to even if you get it right or not, it's this is just enjoying and playing a bit with science and learning from it. So thank you for your answers. And these are 4 possible options. You can see that earthquakes under the ocean is one. Underwater landslides is another one. And then volcanic activity is another one, and meteorite impact is another one. So here we have, and you'll receive these materials, so you will be able to receive and read this again, so don't worry. And we also shown what caused the tsunami in 2004, and I want to show you a very quick animation that shows how over the hours after the earthquake that you will see it starts near Indonesia, how the tsunami and the waves spread all across the Indian Ocean. So this is just a few seconds, and this is like 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and it's reaching other countries, 6 hours, 7 hours, and it reaches Africa and Madagascar, and then South Africa at the very end, and of course Australia. So you see that it covers pretty much in 13 hours the whole ocean. So this is a powerful animation, and this is a scientific reproductive simulation of the event. So we also discussed memory, and you were great. You came up with so interesting definitions of memory, and we brought some of them to the presentation, like perseverance of certain experiences, the archive of our personal history and connecting through experiences, emotion, knowledge. This is from Iran. This is from Indonesia, Rafi. The power of processing and reproducing what we learn and retain. This is a great definition as well. And there's so many definitions to memory, and it can be personal too. So it's great to learn from your feelings and your perspectives. For Juliana, it means a lot to her. It's something that we not forget and we cherish instead. It can bring joy, but it can bring sorrow. It can help us go on, but avoiding doing the same mistake. This is great. This is pure storytelling. So this is communications as well. This is great communication. So I can see that you are already communicators. and we can learn more to tell stories. But just telling us the meaning of what memory is like conveys a lot and means a lot. And memory could be a topic that you can research in your work if you're interested, because I remember that some of you wanted to be psychologists, for example, and memory, it's important to all of us. So it's learning from the past, looking for a better future, it's connected to the future, like in the mirror image that I shared. Memory is remembering things and help us understand, make the world a better place. And we want to, you'll receive these materials, and thank you for sending them. And we would like to now go to the whiteboard, and we would like to ask you, what are the things that you think we can do to reduce tsunami risk? And hopefully, this time I get to see the whiteboard. Yes, here it's loading. Great, excellent. So we will see an image of the ocean, and you can just type with the text, with the T, anything, any word that you think, things that we can do to reduce the risk. Anything. This is, again, no right or wrong answers. This is just opinions and what we can think together. You can just click on the T for text, then click on the map, and you can just type and you can play around with also with the size. So I see someone who is already writing there. Firstly, I can read it, which is great. Feel free to write anything that comes to mind. And if you want to write in your own language, you can, but then you need to help us with the translation so that we can all understand. Frequent tsunami among students and drills. Yes, drills, that's great. So drills are great to practice, great to learn, great to get together. Drills are opportunities to get together, to practice and to learn together, like today, right? So we can create social awareness. Yes, this is so important. And what we are doing here in this conversation is also about creating awareness. And hopefully, when you tell your people about what we are learning here, this is also part of social awareness. Any other ideas? You can use the chat. And thank you for those who sent comments on the animation. I can see another one of you. Frequently, when there is a tsunami, I'm curious about it. Anyone having difficulties to type? If you find it difficult, let us know and we can try. What I normally do is I click on the T for text and then click here and then type like here, and then you make it bigger, like here, for example. This is me. And this is things that we can do to reduce the risk. Like, for example, there are early warnings that you can send to people so that when a tsunami is detected somewhere in the region, it tells and alerts population. Early warning systems are so important. And then let me see what you're in coastal area. We can do some social awareness campaign. Yes, this is so important. And school education. Yes, super important. School education is also wonderful. I know that many of you want to be teachers. So learning in school and teaching in school and sharing this knowledge is so important. Then when there is a tsunami, we can get aware by observing the wave rate and unusual symptoms. Well, observing the ocean is so important. And Martina in the animation did that. And in 2004, many people were observing the ocean that was receding, was going backwards, and they didn't know that that was a possible danger. So now we learn so much more. So to observe the ocean and to understand what the ocean behavior means. So yes, there's so much knowledge today that we didn't have 20 years ago. So thank you for all your answers. This is really good fun, and it feels like interactive and teamwork. So we'll continue with the slides because I have many more stories to share with you. Thank you, Romy, for setting up the whiteboard, and we will move on with many things that we learned. We learned to understand the risk. We know that a tsunami can be big, and of course, but we also know that we can be less vulnerable and we can have more capacities to reduce the risk. And we learned that we need to make sure that people with special needs or people elderly, there are people that have special needs. So ensuring that when we communicate, we are thinking of everyone, that we are leaving no one behind with the information. This is so important. Even tourists, just imagine, tourists didn't really know about tsunamis. And sometimes they go on holidays for just a few days, and it's difficult to know, for example, about earthquakes or about tsunamis. So inclusion means making sure that everyone receives the messages, everyone has information like you're having today. But then we learned that it's so important to collaborate, scientists, governments. So we learned a lot about how countries can work together in solutions and in reducing risk. And communities can participate and bring their local knowledge, and maybe like the older people know the history of the place and they remember previous impacts. So memory is so important for that, to keep the knowledge and to share the knowledge with younger generations. And of course, being prepared. I will tell you about tsunami preparedness programs that and tsunami ready programs that are so important and that are in your countries today. And again, early warnings. So we learned about how important it was. So we learned many more things. This was a huge event that changed how we see disasters and how we think about the ocean in a way. And so much things happened after that. New policies, new legislation, new educational programs, new preparedness initiatives, many things that changed after that. There's been more funding to prepare communities, tsunami preparedness and tsunami ready programs. The connection with health has been studied a lot. So there's so many interesting things that that happened, and many of us work in this field. So and we keep learning. There's so like all the different disciplines from science collaborate. The psychology, the educational part, the policy part, the emergency part, even the finance part that needs to have funds to respond when there's a disaster and an impact, and to do reconstruction. It's really a great place to collaborate with others. And so UNESCO has a wonderful new programs. There's a new tsunami early warning system. Before there were systems in other regions, and after 2004, there are new early warning systems for the Indian Ocean. That includes 26 countries in the Indian Ocean, and it monitors and detects and provides threat and information. And now we can alert of potential tsunami threats as early as 4 minutes after the earthquake. So the systems do it fast and help people know fast that there could be a tsunami. So this is important, and pay attention to the news and to the official sources of information. And ensuring inclusion is important, like learning to swim. We realize that if you don't learn to swim in these cases, you're more vulnerable. And sometimes even climbing a tree makes you, make the ones that could climb a tree were less vulnerable. So these things that we learned in that process. So there are so many interesting inclusion initiatives to make sure that everyone has the capacity to respond whenever something like this happens. And again, there are so many more learnings, right? But we just brought important ones. And based on those learnings, there was lots of progress. Public discussion, like all the communities talking about this. This was new. So all the actors in the community talking about this, like we are doing today, this was part of the progress. And then educational programs and improving risk communications and new global organizations that started to work in this risk reduction much more after this event. So it really transformed also how global organizations connect with disasters. Before, it was much more about responding. Today, it's much more about preventing and about reducing risk, about doing things before they happen. So that's why there were so many transformations. And tsunami-ready programs like UNESCO, I'll show you one slide after that, and also Get to Higher Ground initiatives by United Nations. So really interesting things. I'd like to ask you a question, and we go to the whiteboard. Are you aware of any tsunami preparedness initiatives in your country? We would like to know your to have your feedback about that. Are you aware? So here you can say yes, no, not yet, and you're still, this is an opportunity to learn. Great, 75, 71, 80, 83, 85. So most of you are aware. You can click, paste in the chat window. Thank you, Mabuba. In Bangladesh, students also learn to deal with disaster like Sri Lanka. Thank you for that. And do you know, I'm going to paste in the chat, do you know what are the names or what initiatives do you know? Initiatives to So if you know the name, if it's something they do at school or in your community or local government or scientists, it's great to know that 90% are aware of that. So this is super important, and it's great to know that you're really committed. And this is and thank you for this is good fun to have all your opinions. Even though we are many, we can have your feedback so fast. This is good fun. So thank you so much, and we'll continue with some more information. So we'll send you more information, but this is a wonderful program by UNESCO called Tsunami Ready that helps community get ready in so many different levels and things that can be done. So you'll have more information to learn about it. We would like to know if you heard about it, about the Tsunami Ready program. I saw the poll, but for some reason I lost it. Are you seeing it now, Ardito, the poll? Okay, great. For some reason I don't see it myself, but
Yes.
okay, maybe you can comment on the results, because for some reason I'm not seeing it now.
77% says no, 23% says not yet, but would like to know. So 78%
Excellent.
knows. 75, keep on increasing. So 75% knows about Tsunami Ready. Great.
This is wonderful. Now I see the results. Excellent. Yes, 75. That's wonderful. And if you don't know about it, we will send you more information and we can, of course, discuss more. But it's a great program that is happening in all your countries. So this is great. And we will send you more information about these programs so that you can learn more about the things that are being done. And other initiatives like getting to higher ground. When in some places where there is higher ground, where there are hills or mountains, it's safer to move uphill. So there are different initiatives organized by United Nations in which the community practice how to move to higher ground when there's an alert. And sometimes there's no higher ground and it's just moving away from the coast. So this is interesting initiatives by United Nations. We'll share that with you. And drills are so important. And also improving preparedness. And this is a topic that you can also research if you're interested in nature. For example, mangrove forests are so important to protect the coast. They are natural barriers. So when there's a tsunami, they absorb the waves, the impact and the energy of the waves. So these are other initiatives by UN and by national governments. So mangroves and all this nature and even coral reefs, they protect our coast. So these are also topics that you can research or even ask the astronaut about it, because this is also part of protecting our habitat and the place where we live. They act as tsunami shields and against climate change as well, because these mangroves are great to protect us from sea level rise as well, which is something that happens as well. And systems like this, if you see the column, that column has the numbers and the measurements, and it shows that people and neighbors, people in the neighborhood can see what the water levels are. This is also community monitoring, very important because everyone pays attention. And if everyone notices something, they can notify the rest. So the community participating with systems like this is very important, and making sure that the community has the information. So there are so many more things in terms of learnings and progress, but we wanted to highlight the most important. And we would like to discuss with you now a bit about the ocean and the future of the ocean. And we would like to ask you a question, which is, how do you imagine the future of the ocean and how do we want it to be? What are the challenges and what can make our ocean safe? So we will play a bit around with the whiteboard again, and we will see an image of the ocean that it's loading now. Thank you, Romy. And again, we're thinking about the future of our ocean. What are the challenges that you imagine, and what can we do to make the ocean a safer place? For many of us living on the coast, for example, we can talk, let's say, what are the problems that we can imagine that is going to be there, or the good things that we imagine from the future. I see Mabuba, the numerous trees help to reduce the effect of tsunami in mangrove forests. Yes, they play such an important role in protecting the coast. Nahin from Bangladesh commented also another thing about mangrove. So yes, great. Thank you for sharing that. So if you want to try to write, you click on the text and So maybe I can say that I will quote you and we can protect the mangroves, because I love what you said, the mangroves. So I'm going to this one, mangroves. There we go. The mangrove forest. So I'm going to quote your comment. So this is something that we can do. We can protect the mangrove forest. I'm going to put it a bit smaller so that it doesn't occupy so much space. Great. And sea level rise due to climate change. Yes, we know that sea levels are rising and we need to adapt somehow because that's a reality. Absolutely. Increase the numbers of coral reefs. I love that. I love coral reefs and all the life that creates that system, that is in those systems. I love to watch the documentaries about the coral reef as well. So yes, so sea level rise, mangroves and coral reefs could be something that can make it safer. Any other ideas? We have Esha Aiwa from Bangladesh. As a citizen of Bangladesh, we have a little bit of experience and awareness about tsunami, since there is some common disasters like cyclones, storm, floods, etc. and more. So you all faced it. Oh, I see. And thank you for sharing. And it's great that you're here today, Esha and Aiwa, because we want to share, to learn from your experiences, because experiences in different countries for these events are different, not always the same, and learnings can be shared so that next time another community experiences, let's say, a cyclone, this is very valuable to share learnings between countries. And what we're doing today, all of us here, it's so unique. It's not easy for people from many countries to get together and discuss ocean resilience. So learning from you, it's, I would say, the most important things. Of course, we bring information and science, but this is about having a conversation. And we should not cut the trees of mangrove to save our country. Thank you for that. So I'm sure you will protect them in your communities and in the future. Hassan and Tanjim from Bangladesh. Our mangrove forest name is Sundarban. It's a shield that it protects us from any kinds of disasters. Sundarban. Hope I am pronouncing it well. Thank you for sharing that. If I'm not pronouncing it well, you can turn on your microphone and help me with pronunciation. You can do that. Feel free to do it. So thank you for all your comments. I see construction on the coast. Construction on the coast, it's important that construction in the coast is aware of things like similar sea level rise. And if it's well designed and it's nature-based, it can improve and may improve safety. Sometimes when construction in the coast doesn't have much planning, it makes the coast more vulnerable. So construction in the coast, depending on the design, it can be really good or maybe not that good. What we know is that since our cities grow on the coast and we all like to live near the ocean, then the impacts of things like tsunamis naturally also grow in terms of infrastructure. So construction is a good topic to research because it has all these different aspects, right? So if you are interested in construction and the way that houses are built this is an interesting topic for your work and for research and to connect it with resilience. So at my schools, SMAN 1 Loknga, Indonesia, we conduct tsunami simulation every month on the 26th. This is just amazing. Thank you. So Humaira is your name. Thank you for sharing that. It's great. We would love to learn more about the simulation. If you have any picture about it, and you can send it to us by email, we would love to share it with others next time on how you participate in simulation. This is so inspiring and such a great practice. So increasing coastal plantations, pine coconuts, many other are ideal for the sandy areas. Wonderful. Recycle the plastic, that's a challenge. That's a challenge because we know there's so much plastic in the ocean. If we can, yes, I agree, Sadia. And I agree, Nahin, we should not litter the sea and recycle and use it in creative ways so that we can reuse it. So yes, there's no direct connection with tsunamis, I would say, but there's a direct connection with our healthy ocean. So thank you for pointing that out. Having it clean and reducing plastics is so important to make it safer. Even for animals, like plastics are so unsafe for animals that swim and the turtles, and they get caught in the plastics and the nets. So yes, this is another way of protecting. So we thank you for your comments. This is another great exercise. I'll continue and move on to the next slides. Thank you for your comments. Sman Baya, we must protect the sea, pandan forest, and coconut trees. We should not throw anything in the sea. Hassan and Tanjim, I agree. So thank you so much. And we'll continue with the slides. We'll send you a video. I will not play it now because it's something that you can watch after when we send you the materials, and it's about the future of the ocean and the challenges that we will have. You can watch it. It's a wonderful video. The team did lots of research to share with you material that we think it's educational and easy to understand and accurate in terms of science. So these are materials that you can use in the classroom or to learn more between this webinar and the next webinar. So now we're going to talk about communications. And communications is not only about information, it's also about having a conversation like this one and meeting new people and learning together from different disciplines. So we want to share some examples of disaster risk communications that some of us connected to the school have been doing in other countries. Hopefully you find it inspiring, and these are possible ideas that you can do, or maybe trigger other ideas of things you can do for your project, which we are going to discuss right after that. This is a project which is doing music to share information about hurricanes before in the Caribbean, like cyclones, in the equivalent to high cyclones. So in the Caribbean, there's a season from June to November. There are hurricanes. So we've been using music to send communities important information on how to get prepared for those tsunamis. So those hurricanes, sorry. We'll send you the video. It's so cool. And the video is so wonderful. You see, these are artists. Oops, sorry. Let me just play that again. So these are artists from Haiti in the Caribbean, and they get together. They created a wonderful song and they share, the lyrics are all the things that people need to do to get ready, protecting the animals, connecting with the community, be alert, watching out, things that can happen when there's a hurricane. And this is all music. Of course, we'll send you the music, but this is like the whole community participating, so we wanted to share that. And last time we shared these stories of survivors, students that were really young in 2004. They told their stories through illustration. And if you like to illustrate, you can do your work with illustration. You can create a comic, for example, and tell a story through comic. So this is something that you can do for your work. And this picture, we love it because it's the same kids, but many years after. And they are having the drawings that they did when they were young. Do you know the people in the picture? I can see that you're recognizing. If you know them, let us know who they are. But we thought it was really cool to share. Let me see, I want to go to the chat window just to make sure that I don't miss any comments. So great. And this is Tsunami Ladies, a project that connects survivors in Chile and Japan, and particularly restaurant owners. And they get together and share the experiences cooking together. So there's interesting things that they do. They tell the stories to each other while they cook. So this is, okay, now this is a long version. So this is a whole document, the whole film. I was wanting to show you. You see that they are into cook and they connect with seafood and they do a boat trip and they share what they learned in the tsunamis into different countries. And this connection is through food. So everything that is in culture and that you love, from music or illustration or video games or even sports, if you like sports, those can be great for you to educate others about tsunamis. There's a connection. There's always a connection, and there are creative ways to find that connection. So great. So we're moving on to the next one. And we're talking about your project because we want you to tell a story or to do research based on your motivations and based on the things that are most interesting to you from these things that we are discussing in these webinars. Why do we want it to make this about your work? Because for many reasons. Because the main goal of Tsunami United is to start conversations about tsunamis, and you're the ambassadors, the representatives here. So we are learning together, and the idea is to do work that inspires others. It can be your friends, it can be your family, it can be your community, it can be your country. You can define your audience and you can define who you want to talk. And we say that we like to connect it with your motivations because many of you told us that you wanted to be a teacher. Okay, great. So your work can be about teaching others, and it can be about education. Others told us that you wanted to we talked about architecture. I remember some of you saying, I want to be architect. So construction and coastal resilience and coastal preparedness, that's a very interesting topic to research. If you like video, you can do a video of a topic that you like. For example, that simulation, where we would be really interested in learning, those of you that do that simulation every 26, every month, you could do a documentary about that and ask the opinions of those participating. That would be so inspiring for the rest. And of course, I'm thinking of possible ideas, right? But documenting things that you know that are good for preparedness. For example, you mentioned that there are initiatives in your country about tsunami preparedness. Most of you said that there are initiatives. you can interview some of those people doing those interviews because they are, I'm sure there are experts there with lots of knowledge and experience. And something that we said before here is that this is about creating new bonds and new connections. So this is an opportunity. If you want to learn from a disaster risk manager, you can do an interview and write an article like you are a journalist. Of course, you will be able to ask a question to an astronaut, and that's also an opportunity to learn what is it like to see the Indian Ocean from space. So we are learning from other people with new perspectives, and these are all great opportunities for improved communications, because what makes communications rich and powerful is to have different perspectives and to be able to communicate different ways of seeing, in this case, tsunamis. If you like music and you have your music teacher wants to participate, you can create a song. If you, many of you that wanted to be a doctor, I remember, right? You wanted to engage into health. Am I correct? Any doctors, any future doctors in the room? You feel free to you can tell us in the chat if you see any connection, for example, with health. Doctors bring very powerful experience from past tsunamis or past disasters. They need to protect and assist people that need that have special needs in terms of their health. So these are an opportunity to learn from doctors and what they do to prepare for tsunamis. There's such a connection with health. There's an important connection with health. So this is important. Nahim says that you want to be a scientist and research on tsunamis. I want to know how to predict tsunamis and uncover all the hidden truth. Great. Hopefully this is the beginning. There's so much to learn about the ocean, about tsunamis. So great, excellent. You, Janet, want to be a doctor in the future, right? Okay, so the connection with health, if you want to do your work on tsunamis and health, there are very interesting topics to research. So this is something that you can do for your work as part of Tsunami Unite. Some of you asked, when do you need to submit this work? You have time, so don't worry. We'll keep on discussing this in the next webinar. The submission date is the beginning of September, so you have a couple of weeks in June, and then July, and then August. So you have more than 2 months to do your work. You want to become a scientist, well path. Thank you for sharing that. Yanat wants to be a doctor. Yes, that's wonderful. We need many doctors. So thank you for that. And you see there are interesting stories connected to survivor stories. For example, there were women that were pregnant and doctors were taking care of them. So there are interesting connection with health. There's connection with schools, different disaster awareness, education for children. So this is another, you can design some educational activity for others, for example, if you're interested in being a teacher. There are very interesting designs if you would like design. There are different connections with science, that engineering, industrial design, photography, and art. And so these are materials that you can get through, and these are, in a way, we are helping you think of what's the start of your project and what you want it to be. Again, it's about starting a conversation, it's about raising awareness, and it's about connecting with something that's meaningful for you. Is there any connection with astrology? That's a good question. And astrology has so many interesting narratives. I think that there's a very interesting connection with the moon, not necessarily tsunamis and the moon, but the ocean and the moon, because the moon dictates so much more of the tidal movement and behavior of the ocean. It's not directly connected to tsunamis, but there's an interesting connection with the moon. If that could be a topic, as long as you connect like how the ocean changes, there's an interesting connection with the moon gravitational pull. So I wouldn't say maybe with all the astrology, but the moon in particularly, there's lots of research on that. Astria Asnani want to be an architect to make buildings stronger, so that's too serious damage does not occur. Yes, that's super important. That's called resistant housing and seismic resistant housing. At the same time, there's another interesting part to learn, which is how do we build in a way that our coast is not more vulnerable. So and that there are so many nature-based designs that use also natural barriers and nature-based inspired designs inspired by nature. That also is really interesting. I'm not saying it's the only good one, but it's new tendency and there's lots of innovation. Can any problem in space be the cause of a tsunami or any disaster on Earth? Well, chances are low, but technically the answer is yes. And we've seen one example. Meteorites, which are not very frequent, but in the past 70 million years ago, we know there was a big one. So technically, the answer is yes. But the chances, this is low probability. This is really low probability. So I'm not thinking if it's a problem in space, but this is something that comes from space. So technically, scientifically, the answer is yes, but chances are very low. Maybe meteorites, yes. This is a good answer by Naila, Anya, Dita, and Rafi. I don't know who was it, but in your name, there's 4 of you. I think tsunamis can be more destructive by the tidal issues. Well, technically, we discussed the 4 reasons, and you can get deeper into those 4 reasons because, of course, there are more details, right? Tsunami is something that caused by a phenomena in our Earth. Okay, yes, great. But yes, what I said about the moon is not connected by tsunamis. I was talking about the ocean and the tides, but not connected to tsunamis. Sorry if I was confusing. But then we can use songs as creative ways to tell stories. Which of you can tell me in the chat window, like music? Do you like music? I'm assuming that some of you, or many of you, okay, us, Naila, Anya, Dita, and Rafi like music. And Farid Altaf as well. And I'm sure there's so wonderful music in those places. Nahin as well. Great. So then I have another question. Did you listen to any song with educational purposes, with some song that is designed and composed to educate about something? And if your answer is yes, about what? Did you remember any campaign or any awareness campaign with music about any topic? Song is very interesting, and if that song be learnful, it will be great. I agree, Mabuba. Yes, absolutely. And why do I ask about this? Because you can, has a tsunami caused by a meteor ever occurred? Well, again, I mentioned one example, 70 million years ago in Mexico. And that was big one because science studies that. But again, it's very infrequent. So maybe we shouldn't worry that much about that. But it's always good to know and to learn from meteors. There are people who study those meteors. But I wanted to ask you about songs, because if you want to do your work with a song and engaging some musicians or your music teacher, this is something that you can do. So I'm going to continue, and then there are, oh yes, the Smong song. That is an old song that helped people avoid tsunami. Yes, that is famous, and we want to hear more. So if you can send us some example about that song, we can share it with others. That's this Hmong song from Aceh province. We read many things about it, and we know that it's traditional, and it has a very important knowledge about tsunamis that is shared from generation to generation. So yes, that is there's so many things that we can learn from this Hmong song. So thank you for sharing that example. Can we make our project a combination of more than one format? Asks Jim. And the question is yes. But always try to think of one story that you want to tell. And then you may use different media to tell that story. For example, when you read an article in a newspaper, in an online website, about a news website, and you see that it has text and has a picture, or it has text and it has a video, that's a combination of more than one format, but it's one story. So that is, Jim, what I recommend is like, think of your story or your message, even if it's artistic or scientific. What do you want to share, and with whom, and what is the audience? And based on that, then you can say, okay, I'll take this part with text, this part with video, or with illustration, or even with music. So try to make sure that you can combine format, but the story is one. And we can prepare a play in our schools and area to make it more interesting, and we can add music there. If you do that, Aisha, Aiwa, please do a wonderful video, because we want to watch it. And yes, if you can do a play in your schools, this can be a wonderful project if you can prepare with your people in the school. Yes, absolutely. Very important question. Is the project done individually or with a group for each school? Both are okay. But they have to be, if it's a group, it has to be participants of Tsunami United. Because it will be difficult to engage many others that are not really aware of all the things that we are learning. So you can work in groups, but we're thinking that it has to be some of you connected today and to the webinar. Ardito is saying that check your email regularly. And next week, we will share the details of the story. And yes, and the criteria and the procedures. Everything will be written. Don't worry about that. But yes, but it's great to see that you're really motivated and interested and curious. And we are really interested and curious about your stories. And we will help you in the process. For example, we will connect not next week, but in 2 weeks. Next session, it's in 2 weeks. If you have any ideas and if you want to have more questions, we will have time to discuss it in 2 weeks as well. And then after that, you will have July and August to prepare it. So you will have time to prepare. So now it's like the creative part. It's not about stress, like what am I gonna do? What is the deadline? No, this is about creativity. Now it's about your passion, about your ideas, about learning new things. This is like take your freedom to explore what you think is more interesting to you. You will see in the materials there are some poems. If anyone here that wants to be a poet or into poetry, if you like to write poetry, this is the opportunity. There are novels after the 2004, and there's poetry and prose and essays that people used as medium to tell their stories. So this is also something that you can do. And you can talk to your parents or your grandparents or anyone that has memories of the event and you want to do interviews with them and bring their learnings, you can do so and combine it with all the things that you're learning here. So this is storytelling, pure storytelling. There are interesting stories of a fisherman who survived the tsunami. We will send you this so you can also use it as inspiration. And again, it can be an interview, it can be a photograph, it can be a story that you read. For example, you watched The Girl and the Tsunami. And The Girl and the Tsunami, the starting point was that we read an article in the media. We read the story of that girl who saved her community. And then we said, we want to talk to her. And when we talked to her, we recorded her story. And after having the recording of her story, we did the animation. So the story that you heard, or even the small song or another song or a picture that you think, this is a powerful picture that I found from that time, and you want to talk to someone who, and you want to connect with someone that was on the news, there's always, these are opportunities to make new connections. So yes, you can also do that. And final, talking about new connections and about new perspectives and communicating creative things, we will have to prepare at least one, or maybe two, but at least one question that you would like to send to the astronaut in space, because in July, we will be talking to an astronaut. So here, this is not a competition. It's not that we are choosing the best one. Of course, we are interested in your questions, and the topics are the ocean, the coasts, the life on the coast, the risks on the coast, the life on the ocean and those natural barriers. But then also technology, if it's tsunami monitoring and sensors, imagine that here we are asking questions to someone who is studying the Earth. They take pictures and they monitor changes, and they have connections with sensors. Like all the sensors in the ocean are connected to satellites, and they share information through satellites. So early warning systems are connected to satellites as well. And you can also ask the astronaut about climate change, because from space, they study how things change. Many of them, or some of them, due to climate change. So here, it's not that we are asking so many things. These are opportunities to do wonderful things. And here is about talking to the astronaut. And again, only a few of us will be selected because we will not have time. The conversation is only 10 minutes. So that's why we will not have time for everyone to ask questions, but everyone will be able to connect to the conversation. Everyone will be able to listen to the conversation. So we will send you more videos if you are interested in this. And before we move on to questions, we have another webinar in 2 weeks. It's going to be June 26 and 27. We will send you more resources and materials. And as Ardito was saying, we will, if you didn't respond to our questions for session 2, there's a link in the chat window and you can use it. and we will share information via the website and via email. And we have a hashtag. So if you post any information or any stories or any pictures about what we're doing, there's a hashtag We Are Tsunami United, and there's an email. If you pay attention to any emails that come from this UNESCO account, because that will be important information about our program. So this is what we had to share with you today, and we would love to hear questions. Feel free to open the mic or to use the chat window. We have a few minutes for questions and answers. Questions.
Yeah.
Questions.
If sometimes you have a questions, you can also send by email to the IoTech email. So we will be happy to always communicate with you. So we receive several questions by emails, and we did respond. So if you have questions, please also email us.
I know that we discussed many
you
topics today. Yes.
Any of you
ahead.
can any of you open your mic, or is it locked?
Yes.
Is it okay? Afna. Hi, Afna.
My mic is on. It's all right.
Great. Thank you, Afna. Thank you for confirming. So anybody would like to talk, to say something?
There's a question by Jim. Within when will we submit our project? You have time, early September. And what is suggested length of our project? This is flexible, but try to think of your audience. Maybe people don't have lots of time to go through long projects. Just try to convey your message in shorter forms, if possible, so that many more people will have time to consume it and to learn from your work. Another question by Mabuba, which is, what is the last day of sending the question for asking the astronaut? And let me just share that with you on screen again, because do we have it here? No, we don't have it in this slide. Nancy, maybe you can help me. Is it end of June?
Yes,
End
it's
of June.
June 21st.
Wonderful. June 21st is the last date. Excellent. Yes. Thank you, Nancy. Can we ever predict tsunamis through any scientific calculation? Like earthquake, like the tsunamis triggered by earthquakes, science can measure the possibility of an earthquake happening because we can measure how the tectonic plates accumulate energy, and that increases over time. So we know that the chances that there's going to be an earthquake, we can study that. What we don't know from science is when that happens. So it's not that we don't know when it starts, but what we can do is that when we have detection systems, is as soon as it starts, to detect it and to alert others, but we don't know exactly when. So if it's predicting exactly, it's not possible, but what we know for sure is that they will happen. We don't know exactly when. Jim is asking, can we ask questions to the astronauts about their life in the ISS? Yes, we can. Always trying to connect it with our topics, right? But yes, you can ask about their life. Of course, you can ask them whatever you like. We'll try to frame the conversation on their work and their research and how they study oceans and how they study the Earth. But yes, you can ask. The answer is yes. Can we ask them how they live in the spaceship and how they monitor natural disasters? Yes, you can. So we did have many questions, but in text form. So this is great. So maybe I can, yeah. If you have more, feel free to send them. Otherwise, Ardito.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Just to add about the scientific calculation. So when we talk about scientific
Yep.
calculation, you can do tsunami modeling. And having a tsunami modeling, then you will be able to estimate the potential tsunami after an event, after an earthquake or a volcano or a landslide. You can estimate how high the tsunami will be, when will impact a coastal area. So that's scientific calculation through tsunami modeling. So that is needed. So
Yep.
if you would like to be a scientist, maybe tsunami modeling will be an area that you will be interested in.
Yep.
Okay. So
We have one question from Sman Baya about what is the maximum video if they want to make a video for the project. This is flexible, and it's up to you. So what we can do is give you a recommendation, because what you want is many people to watch that video. And if it's too long, it may be too much for many people to watch it. So as long as you tell all your message and all that you want to communicate, the shorter the better, right? So it's great if you can do it shorter, it's so much better. But again, some messages may need more time. And that's why it's flexible for you to choose the right length. But again, today, as you know, I'm sure you're on TikTok and social media, people watch shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter videos. So when we want to start a conversation, it's good to consider that people are spending less time watching one video. The name tsunami is derived from the Japanese word. What was the first tsunami in Japan? Well, thousands of years ago. And there's it's called the archaeology of disasters that studies the history and of the tsunamis. But you can research that, Sadia, and look on Wikipedia and about tsunamis. This is an interesting topic. Tsunami, hundreds of years ago. Okay, great. And then, so we have, yes, a message from, okay, this one. So the first tsunami in Japan on June 1896. The highest tsunami ran up to 38 meters in Iwate Prefecture. Wonderful. So we are almost at the end of the presentation. Thank you, Roy, in Bangladesh. Today's discussion is very informative to us. This is wonderful. We appreciate it. We spent lots of time preparing the materials. There's also Romy and Nancy and Ardito and Rodri. Yeah, go ahead.
Nahin raised her hand. Please go ahead, Nahin. Can you open your mic?
Yes, I had a question that can we determine how much damage a tsunami will make by calculating its waves or somehow like that?
Shall I take this? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, and that is what I said about the tsunami modeling. So when you do a tsunami modeling based on the strength of the earthquake locations, then you will be able to know the impact in terms of what would be the highest tsunami wave arrive, how many times, and when. And when it hits the coastal areas, if you have a good map, then you can also do the modeling to see which area that will be inundated. And based on that, you will know how many people will be affected, how many people needs to be evacuated, and so forth. So tsunami modeling is very important. And it is basically a scientific calculation. So if you're interested, go to tsunami modeling. Okay,
Hello.
anyway, yes.
How can I make awareness? We make awareness the rural people in Bangladesh
How to make, could you repeat?
about tsunami.
How you can make rural people aware about tsunami?
Yes.
Yeah, of course, there are, it is as Emiliano had mentioned, this is what we call the risk communication. Of course, for people to be aware about the potential tsunami, we need to communicate with them. We need to educate them. We need to make them aware. And in terms of knowing if a tsunami happens, where do they have to evacuate? How are they going to receive the warning? So there is a lot of things that needs to be done. And I think in Bangladesh, the BMD, the Bangladesh Meteorological Department, is the responsible agencies in terms of tsunami warning. So usually, if there is a threat, then BMD, the Bangladesh Meteorological Department, will provide information to the people.
Thank you so much.
No problem at all. So, any other questions? If not, maybe we'll close the second session. But before we close, I would like to invite all of you to open your camera and let's take another group photo. So let's open and post a big smile. Okay. Ready? SMA and Baya, ready? Okay. Let's smile. I'm sorry. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Hold on. Smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Hold on. Let me save this one first. And I'll try to do another one. Okay. Let me move to the next group. Okay. Smile. 3, 2, and okay. Great. Thank you. So, do you want me to take another one? Okay. Okay. This is 1, 2, and 3. Yes. Great. Thank you. So we'll close this session for today. But I again remind you to continue to monitor the email, to continue to monitor the website. We will provide you with information As Emiliano mentioned, the next session will be in 2 weeks. So next week we will don't have any sessions, but next week we will provide you all the information about the Telling Your Story campaign. And then on when we have the next session, the third session, we will share with you in terms of risk communication, how to spark your ideas, how to motivate your discussion, and then we'll take it from there. So don't forget to share this information to your colleagues, because now you are the Tsunami United Risk Communication. So tell what happens with your friends who is not joining us, and trigger their interest also to learn about Tsunami. With that, thank you very much. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. Stay healthy. Keep smiling, and always be happy.
Okay, see you. Bye
Thank you. Bye bye.
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 Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.